Hey guys, I've been listening to some of the Dark Horses from Morbid Angel's catalog lately, and I know that for a lot of you, Morbid Angel died after Blessed Are the Sick, but there are some great songs on Covenant and afterwards. I always find myself going back to certain things from the Domination record, which I know that a lot of you are going to hate. And obviously, David Vincent's in full chotch mode on this record. You know, he's all ACW'd up, and it's pretty embarrassing. But there's some great shit on the record, and one of my favorite Morbid Angel songs is on it, the Nothing But Fear song that Rutan wrote. And not a lot of people are going to talk about this song. You know, if you're going to talk about Erik Rutan, you're going to talk about Hate Eternal, you might talk about Ripping Corpse. But this particular song, I found myself gravitating to, and I wanted to learn it today to find out if there is like an interlocking theme that's being played throughout the song, because, you know, for a lot of this music, for a lot of metal in general, it's hard for me to understand how the riffs lock into each other unless I learn to play the song myself, and then I can start to see the parallels between parts. And, you know, Morbid Angel's never been a band that had troubles with flow, troubles with getting, like, a coherent theme across. They don't, like, fuck with dynamics to the point where you feel like you're hearing a million different songs in one take. But this particular song has this, like, solemn, introspective vibe, which I think goes along well with the lyrics. You know, David Vincent's a chotch on this record, but at the same time, the idea that most Christians that will claim their devout faith but actually are just afraid of eternal damnation and are trying to, you know, suck up in a sense so that they don't get fucking burned in hell for eternity. You know, I understand that idea, and there's some riffs going on in here that have this introspective quality to them of looking inward and you know, second guessing yourself. And I love this song. I think it's a great song. I think that there's a money shot riff in this song that is so goddamn good, and I'm going to talk about why it's good as I play it. So I'm not going to play along to the song. I'm just going to play riff by riff. I learned this just a little bit ago, so it's probably going to be off. But it starts with this like triplet kind of angry type of rhythm and melody. So while that's going on, Trey is playing the same kind of riff on the what would it be, the B string or the B flat string, but he's like pulling off, and you're hearing that openness come through. So it sounds fucking weird, but if you listen to what that open string is doing against what Rutan's playing, it has this sinister quality to it, and it really works for this riff. And then there's this really difficult descending pattern that he plays as a transition in between the riff and itself. So I'll have to play the riff again to get there. Fucking Guitar Hero mistake. So while that's going on, if you're not paying attention, that's all very chromatic feeling, and you'll get lost in the notes unless you're paying attention. I totally got lost in there a little bit there because of it. I'm not all that familiar. These riffs haven't like manifested themselves in my head yet. I just learned it, so it's I just wanted to get it across to you guys. But during that weird descending shit that's going on, it starts here. While this is going on, there's a high guitar that's doing a harmony here. And it just holds onto that fourth fret note. So while this is being held, the other guitar, which is really awkward because you would think that you would stick to either a minor or a major, but he kind of mixes them both up. And by holding on to that harmony, you have this weird polyphony going on that I think is super cool. there's this odd chromaticism going on in between like chromatic intervals and whole notes that feels really alien, but at the same time it's got this really strong melodic structuring to it. It'll stick in your head, but if you were to try to play it on guitar, you're gonna see that there's nothing really to anchor you down in terms of like if you're a visual player like me, if you can visualize the shapes on the fretboard, you're gonna feel like there's nothing really cohesive in it, but you know it's a riff you're able to hum, and that's a feat in itself to have such a bizarre riff going on and you're still being able to hum it. It's not very easy to do. And then they go back into the verse riff. Go back into that weird chromatic thing. And then they break into a kind of they wanted to go into a faster part, so they had a transition that it's not the best transition in the world, but it's a transition that allows them from going from one tempo to the next fairly fluidly. And that's harmonized in the same kind of format where you're hearing a lot of this interval. So the next riff they go into is, you know, it's your typical like kind of thrash beat feeling, but again there's a chromatic aspect to it. That kind of stuff that you would hear in like incantation material where it just doesn't resolve well. So a lot of the song has been, it's every time there's a new riff, it starts in a new location. Like the song begins on the 3rd fret, and then it has that transition out of it. Where does it start? Now we're anchored in at the 1st fret. So the song is moving around a lot in terms of having your tonic note stay. Most contemporary music you're going to find will stick within that tonic, but this moves all over the place. So that starts on the 1st fret, and then it's going to build up one chromatic step to give you that sense of tension for what will probably be like kind of like a chorusy type of riff. It's a hard riff to play. And it resolves on the 4th fret for every phrase except for the last one, which resolves on the 3rd fret. So you have that chromatic feeling that you get in a lot of death metal. So this song is very chromatic but still very melodic. So it has this alien quality to it while still being true to what makes up a lot of like death metal structuring. Then it goes back into the riff before it, which is on the 1st fret. So you just had that kind of chorusy riff. That's all either 2nd fret, 4th fret, or the 3rd fret. And then it goes back to the riff before it, which is on the 1st fret. And it goes back into that chorus riff. And then there's a transition. That starts on the 1st fret. Even though this does kind of repeat, the way he plays the riff differs on the B part of it, the B part of the phrase. You have those trademark Erik Rutan octave slides. The second time it's played. So the first time is. So the B part of the phrase stays the same, but the A part of the phrase changes, which is kind of an atypical arrangement. And then they have this, weird octave slidey groove part that's very chromatic with like a whole tone interval in there, which is very odd, difficult to play. then we get to the money shot of the song. If you're going to remember this song, it's going to be because of this riff. And it sounds like it's harmonized octaves, but it's really single notes. So it has this naked, like powerless quality to it that you would get out of an introspective riff where you're doubting yourself. But I'll show you what both parts of it are, and then I'll show you how it sounds if I were to play both parts at the same time. And the other guitar on top of it is. And the reason this is so powerful is, even though it doesn't, if you were to, I'll show you how it sounds if it's together. So you have that third into a fifth. So you got that, it's a powerful sounding harmony. The next harmony, the next part of the harmony is all fifths still. And then this is where it gets interesting. So you go from, I'm not sure what this interval is, you theory nerds can tell me, into a fourth, and then it goes into one note shy of a fifth. And the thing that's interesting about this is I looked at how the notes rise and fall of this riff, and it's like a melodic variation on the first riff, which is, it's got a sinister quality to it. So if I were to take that and look at it and play it the same way that this current riff is, you would see that it's kind of the same melodic structuring in terms of like the note values, whether they increase or decrease in pitch, but it's a much more consonant melody. So the first riff, and then the next riff, or not the next riff, but the money shot riff. So it's kind of the same kind of feeling. I know he wanted to bring that theme about, and you're not going to really hear that unless you were to try to learn the song on guitar, and it became known to me as I was playing it. But after they go into this riff, they go back into the very first riff of the song. And it works because they're ending that riff on the fourth fret, and the first riff of the song starts on the third fret. So it's just a one chromatic interval decrease. I'm trying to remember the arrangement. It goes back into that same kind of transition. Then it goes back into that chorus riff. Then it goes back into that introspective riff. But this time, Rutan plays a solo over it. I'm not going to show you the solo. I didn't learn it for the sake of the video. But there's a lot of feeling in the solo, and the song ends on that solo, on that riff, which is like, if you look at where the song begins, which is, kind of an evil-sounding, awkward phrasing. Like this is weird as it is, but combining the high guitar over it, it's not very pleasing to the ear. It's kind of evil sounding. You got your typical Morbid Angel evil intervals here. but then ending on this really melodically consonant introspective phrase with a solo, and then it all just kind of cuts out at the very end. The song really does take you on a journey, and it's on Domination. I know a lot of you guys are gonna fucking hate Domination, and this is clearly not the same kind of musical language that they used on Altars or Abominations or Blessed Are the Sick, but there's a really, really great format of storytelling here. The use of chromatics while still maintaining this melodic sensibility, very strong, and coming back to that riff, that introspective riff where you really have, what makes it great is that all the riffs that surround it, all of that speed and intensity, and then coming back to that introspective riff, you kind of have a feeling that the person that Erik Rutan is trying to develop for you has had this sense of introspection shifted by a different kind of feeling of velocity, your intensity. All of that can reflect on a theme that manifests itself within you. So if you look at that really melodic riff in the center, and if they were just to play it once, not return back to it after going back into the verse riff and having it end on whatever that fast chorus is. They could have ended it there, but they went back into that introspective sounding riff. And they did that because by having that verse riff and that chorus riff come back and then playing that introspective riff again, it gives it a different value. If you look at the waves that the song takes, each one of those riffs will be able to enhance the next in succession. And by having this riff return after all that intensity, it's kind of a learning experience as to how someone's personality can develop, and how you can be someone early on in your life and be someone completely different later on in life, but still maintaining that innate aspect of what makes you who you are. And that's the kind of stuff you don't really hear in modern metal songwriting. But yeah, I mean, for all that you could say about Domination, I understand your perspective on it, but stuff like this, I think, is what really makes Morbid Angel what it is. Even though it wasn't written by Trey, this is the kind of material that really will be inherent to the band. And I hope to hear more of it in the future if they maintain who Morbid Angel is in future releases. So that's all I wanted to say on that. Thank you for listening.